Welcome back to the Hall of Fame College Football Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Watkins. He's the coach, Phillip Roybal. And if you love college football, you are definitely in the right place. So before you forget, smash that red subscriber button, like our videos, and don't forget to ring the bell so you don't miss one moment of the Hall of Fame College Football Podcast. Now, let's talk about this other deal. Now, the issue then what I was going to bring it up is because it feels to me like this. We kind of need to get into it. The fact that an expected a legacy kid, quarterback of the future after Jackson Arnold, presumably, has pushed back his commitment date. He was supposed to do it on the 31st. I'm not exactly sure when it's going to be for, but I think it's kind of signaling that there might be, maybe there is some truth to some of this, that there is something going on at Alabama, and maybe there's more to it with as far as Jeff Lebby being interested. I think for the rest of the OU fans, I'll easily speak here and say, don't go. Because my question would be is, okay, clearly, here's the deal. It's the player that we're talking about, Frisco Emerson's Michael Hawkins. He would be the 2024 guy that everybody's expected. It's just a done deal, right? Because his dad played with Jeff Lebby at Oklahoma. They were part of the same recruiting class. They're tight. The family's tight. He's also tight with Kendall Briles, who is at TCU. Now, they're all, obviously Lebby and Kendall are brother-in-laws. So that's, there's connections there. And they run the same damn offense. Aside from that, that's a family thing. That's the Briles offense. And it's something and this kid he's picking up a lot of traction recruiting-wise. They were talking about him making 5-star by the time all of this is said and done. The ball comes off of his hand, something pretty. So you would hope, and something that we obviously know we need to do, is build the kind of depth at the quarterback position that is going to continue to run the offense the way we've expected it to be at Oklahoma all these years, So right. The thing is that not only could you lose this, if perish the freaking thought, folks, but would Jackson even stay?
Exactly.
If Lebby leaves, Jackson came to OU to play for Jeff Lebby. Now, I don't know, they wouldn't necessarily have to let him out of his letter of intent for this year. I think that, but I mean, could you not?
Well, that just doesn't make for very good relations. And, he's not going to play as well as he could if there's that tension.
Well, and the wonder would be, could you because Kendall has left every job that he's had in the last 5 years in a year. Could you, because it's not the same offense that they run at TCU. It's not. I know that Briles and Sonny did work together some. But yeah, and I mean, even Kim's saying, he doesn't, Lebby's not going to leave Jackson. And I think that, okay, so here's the other side of that. I would say, Kim, and thank you for that. I agree with you. And this is a concern as well, him taking the head coaching job. I don't know that that's what's happening though either. I think that Lane Kiffin's in line for it, maybe. And I still feel like Dabo Swinney is in line to go to Alabama. He acts like he's not, but things aren't going great at Clemson right now.
Oh.
And if you can't get out of that deal with the ACC, with ESPN, there's a lot of things to talk about as far as that goes. All I'm going to say is this. Not only could you lose this legacy kid, because unless you could maybe pull Kendall over from TCU, which is possible going back to the SEC, but you better hope that happens, or otherwise you're going to get into a different. The issue is then who? Where do you go from there? because BV's not going to get a Lincoln Riley guy. He's not going to do it. And
I agree 100%. Well, and there, I tell you what, and there is. I mean, there's so much that's hanging out there with Lebby and the situation.
Why hasn't he said something?
And I'm going to talk from a non-OU fan perspective. Okay,
Right.
Alabama comes calling, guys. You know what? Alabama is Alabama, and I'm not saying don't use chump change, but I am saying, you know what?
It is in Alabama.
Golly, it's kind of tough to not take a good hard look at that.
Think at all these guys that are head coaches right now today, and successful head coaches at that. Not everybody wins like he does, but look at Kirby's finally doing it.
Yep.
He's won back-to-back. That's rare. Even yep. Nick doesn't win back-to-back very. I mean, I think he's only done it once.
Right.
So, it's a problem. It's a problem because this guy he's got a car wash of guys that come through there, but they get jobs.
They do.
And that could be it's your master class in freaking coaching. Now, a lot of people would say when it comes to defense and stuff like that you're getting that from Venables, and you got to expect that he's going to put a defense together that is going to support Jeff Lebby's offense as well. But
there's just a lot hanging out there right now, guys, and hopefully this process moves quickly, whichever way it's going to play out. Hopefully it moves quickly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, folks, let us know what you think on this. I mean, and what do you think? I mean, yes, it was terrible. It would be. Here's the other thing about it, and it's something that, look, I don't want to give you all doom and gloom. I'm just saying, and I think that he stays. And I'll tell you why I think he stays. That first of all, Jackson Arnold is right there. Second of all, they just put together one of the best the best recruiting class in Oklahoma history, as far as for these rankings times, since the 247 era. They are building a defense that can support you. You have a transcendent quarterback right here that you wouldn't have to not spend any time without him. And you're an alum. You played at Oklahoma. This is home.
I'm gonna interject one more thing here, Jason. My question is, because I think this is going to weigh into Lebby's thinking as well, is how long do you think Venables is going to continue to coach?
I think that Venables isn't going anywhere anytime soon, unless if he turns out to not be a great head coach because of the fact. I mean, if a lot of the things that you saw in these close games continue, I mean, if the learning curve doesn't step up, which is why I think these hires are good hires, because of the fact that it is going to allow him to do CEO stuff, and not have to be calling that defense. But I think it's going to set the program back. Of course, it would set it back. As Sooner fans, and I don't know that Sooner fans are even willing to do this, and I'll tell you that most of them aren't. You have to reset. If this happens, you have to reset your expectations yet again. Because, first of all, until the defense is one of the best in the nation, you need an offense that's going to score 40 or 50 points. You do. Yeah. They have that with Jeff Lebby and with Jackson Arnold and with a lot of these offensive weapons that they pulled in, because they did well on the offense too. Yeah, Chad Morris. I mean, there's guys out there. All I'm telling you is, if Lebby leaves, the chances are you don't just lose one quarterback, you lose two. The good news, as I said, is that he has been resistant about it. Outlaw, you said yourself in here earlier that I was watching your video earlier that you heard something there in Tuscaloosa that he was basically turning it down. I also just read on one of the boards that Parker Thune was talking about that it doesn't seem like Saban's taking no for an answer right now. So And I mean,
Well, Jason, you and I talked about this too. Saban is in a little bit of paranoia right now, and he
damn right.
sees what Oklahoma recruited. He sees what's there coming
And they're
down the
on their
road.
way to town, and so did Texas too. So yeah, that's part of the game, right?
Yes, absolutely. And he sees that. And number one, he can disrupt it by getting a great offense coordinator, and he can disrupt it by possibly OU losing some good athletes.
Right.
And so yeah, it's there's more than just getting the right coach in at Alabama, but I think the paranoia of Nick Saban right now is, man, I got to disrupt this.
Well, and I was saying this earlier to another friend of mine down in Houston that, it's like the whole NIL, you can't use it as an enticement rule. That came from Nick. He wanted to make sure that rule was in place because that makes it still illegal to do it the way that they do it.
Right.
But the thing is that they're not enforcing that rule because it's happening everywhere, and the coaches are in charge of it. Now, what they should have done, and I've said this week after week, and I'm going to say it again, if you want to change all that stuff, but if you want to change it, you incentivize them staying around.
Right.
You find a way. And you go ahead and let it be what it is so that you can find out what the hell the money is, and you can cap it and do all that and make sure that it's being done on the up and up.
Yeah.
But that leaves less control for anybody else, any governing body, much less the NCAA. But it leaves less control. What's happening is, and I agree with you, I think that Nick knows that he was the best at paying players. And I'm not sitting here back. Everybody was doing it, folks.
Everybody, yeah.
Everybody was doing it. So
it's
not, I'm not saying that, but what he was the best at was getting those guys anyway. So listen, he has shown over the last 2 years that he's very paranoid about losing his throne. He just lost again. And he turns around and puts together the best recruiting class in history the year after the best recruiting class in history was built at A&M. And he smoked it. So it's
well, that was a good question there. How long will Saban coach? And that was kind of what I was alluding to earlier a little bit there too.
mm-hmm.
The longevity of Saban, and Venables is a little bit different. And I think Saban probably has less years to go than Venables. And
Sure.
so is that something that they will entice Lebby with? Is this could be a possibility a few years down the line that you take over this program.
Right. Unboxing reviews and more. What's happened is that number one, the next quarterback has pushed his commitment date back. He's a legacy kid. His dad played with Jeff. They were part of the same recruiting class at Oklahoma. He was coming to OU. He's tight with them. Hey, Kerwin, that's who we were talking to. I was talking to Kerwin this morning. But the thing is that honestly, and that's the unboxing. I'm finishing that. He pushed his commitment back because obviously there is something there, and you keep hearing that Saban isn't taking no for an answer. He's down to 3 now, and so you're looking at a situation where not only would you lose that kid presumably because he's either going to go, and already he said that he's considering TCU because of Kendall being there, right? But if you lose Jeff Lebby, do you not lose Jackson Arnold? And we're talking, you could lose 2 quarterbacks with 1 coach. And we're talking high-level quarterbacks. This kid, they were talking earlier about it, that he is trending towards a 5-star. He's a high 5. He's a high 4 now. He transferred from Allen over to that program at Frisco Emerson.
Yep.
And I know a kid that goes there. He's going to be his left tackle. He's a stud too. And so with him, I mean, you know how it is in Texas. They're raising their game. He went over there to get ready and go see if they can't put a playoff run together, and he can put a real season together. You want this kid, and they're tight with Lebby. They're tight with Kendall Briles. You know, there's a lot to it. There's obviously a lot to it, but it's not that. I mean, I'm not paranoid about it, and I just said earlier that I still feel like this is home for Lebby. I think that if you said that you think Nick might be less time left in the saddle, but a week ago you told me he may not leave till he dies. You know, so the truth is, I mean, we don't know because you know how Nick is. He likes to coach. I think Miss Terry will kick his ass out of the house. She doesn't like
too many variables, guys.
The thing is the bottom line is this: is that you know when they come calling, I mean, you can look at it as, hey man, it's kind of masterclass time, and it turns into big money. Now, one thing is that obviously they all have the same Sexton is their agent. But then I also feel like a lot of this is just playing that game to like shake Venables up a little bit, maybe. I don't think he's going to go anywhere, and I agree with you. I don't think he's going. I think that there's a lot of reasons for him to stay. And I know as of last week when they were talking about it, and I was under the impression that it was a no already.
Well, OU administratively has got to do everything they can to keep him there.
Oh yeah, they better. Well, and Brent Venables better do more. You know, pay him. Do it all. Make sure you pay him. And the thing is that they have done that. They've given him a lot of leeway with his staff, added positions in comparison to what Lincoln had. They have made a lot of those. They've made a lot of those concessions already. I feel like you're probably going to keep him around, right? I feel like you are, but it's just something to think about, folks, and it's something that you got to worry about. And OU does have a lot of momentum. Sean, I agree with you. And again, but when there's smoke for this long, and we're not just talking about anybody. If we're talking about any other coach, aside from maybe Kirby Smart, you don't expect it, right? You don't see him go. I mean, obviously Dabo already got Garrett Riley to go there. We're going to see how that works out. And now at this point, see, and it was weird to me that they said that Saban didn't even talk to Garrett. It was supposedly going to happen, but I've been hearing that he didn't talk to him. So he's been kind of locked in on him for a little while. Alabama's OC was the former head coach of the Texans. Why am I forgetting his name? I'll say he actually took the job back with the Patriots today.
Bill.
Yeah.
Can't think of his last name.
O'Brien. Bill O'Brien.
Bill O'Brien.
Yeah, and he's going back to the Patriots. Yep. He was taking a lot of it on the chin. Hell, they were scoring 40 points. They were giving up 50. What do you want to do? You know, I don't really think it was that. I think that they had a great quarterback, but yeah. Look, there's a lot of, I mean, and that's the thing. All of this, and somebody said it in there, there is a lot of momentum with Coach. And again, folks, he's a Sooner. He's a Sooner. So doing that at this time right now, and he came back and he had talked about that being, it's time to come home when they call you home kind of deal. Because Lane Kiffin was not happy about him leaving. I can tell you that. Lane liked having him. So, yeah. Anyway, it's, Bill O'Brien. So, yeah, it's, again, also Joe Brady is apparently in the mix. He's won a national championship with LSU. He didn't do well in the NFL for whatever reason, but he certainly can put an offense together. And then, he's been running. Yeah, he has. Yeah. Yeah, and he's run himself out of jobs too. I mean, when you get rid of the best receiver and you've got a quarterback you think you love, Now you didn't know he was a rapist at the time, but you know. But when you have a great quarterback supposedly, and you get rid of the best receiver in football at the time for nothing, basically, and they gave him away for like an apple and a bag of rice. So, I mean, good grief. Yeah. I'm with you, man. And I really feel like this is a situation, and I think that he does have some. I mean, he better have some kind of. Well, you can't say that you would necessarily blame him for taking a job with Nick Saban, right? As an OU fan, you damn sure can't. We would be upset with it. But he is an alum. He did play, and I think that means something. And I think it means something to him too. He wants to see this through with Jackson. He's getting a pipeline going, apparently. You know, number 99 left. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You're talking about in Houston. Yeah. Yeah, he left. He was gone too. I mean, he broke that team up, broke it up. And it, obviously he, had to. Anyway, again, I don't want us to like freak out, and I'm not going paranoid on you. I'm just saying when Saban comes calling, it's a little different than anybody else. Right? The guy's won 7 national championships. And now Kirby's won 2. He's got another assistant that won 1 in Jimbo at Florida State. Now, obviously, that's not going that way anymore. But there's a lot of guys around the country that owe their head coaching careers to Nick Saban, and don't think that there's not people within his family and everywhere else that are like, and look, what's the money like? You would think that you can hold him as far as money wise. Yeah. If he did leave and took Jackson Arnold with him. Yeah. And here's the thing. I'm going to tell you one thing. One thing I would say is I expect that Jackson would go with him. Right. But in view of the fact that Venables didn't poach players from Clemson, hell, they still haven't taken any players from Clemson. He's probably expecting Lebby to give him the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be a bad deal, Jimmy. You're definitely right. He would never be welcome in Oklahoma again. And listen, I know I like Jeff, and I like him as a coach, but I got to agree that Oklahomans will run his ass off. You can't come back. Yeah. You're right, C. You definitely are. Look, he didn't put this staff together for it to fall apart tomorrow. And again, there's a lot of momentum here, so there's a lot of reasons to feel good about this. But it is scary. It is scary.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about some knuckleheadedness.